research that talk about, anybody know what the term fear of missing out is? What is it? Yes, ma'am.
You won't go when you do something because you're afraid if you don't go, you'll miss out on it. So
Exactly.
a lot of times with I know sometimes with me, I'll check Twitter because often, just in case, because you don't want to scroll through hours and hours of feed.
Right.
What happens if there's something funny in it?
Exactly right. And so for you guys, it's an epidemic. Okay, you are connected and tethered to these things. Okay, so connectivity in stadiums is terrible right now. So that's part of when we research, and there's been lots of studies done, we've done our own research, and we say, hey, why do you not want to go into the stadium? More often than not, people go, because I can't upload, I don't know what's going on, I can't say. It drives me nuts. My stuff doesn't work. I don't want to be in there for 3.5 hours, disconnected from what's going on. So, that's one of the reasons why attendance is dropping. What the gentleman against the wall pointed out, costs money. It's a pain in the butt to go stand in line and pay $5-6. You got a 60-inch flat screen HD TV, you can bring all your friends over, you can tailgate, you can have a better experience oftentimes than the person sitting in the stands. It's a huge story. Last year's tournament, kid from Louisville had that grotesque, horrible injury. You guys remember that? Kid just breaks his leg in the game. And nobody in the stadium knew what was up, but everybody on TV did. So you had people in the stadium being like, what happened? What's going on? And people outside the stadium who were watching on TV were letting them know what happened, right? It used to be the reverse, right? You were physically present, you saw it, and then you let everybody else know, but now increasingly it's the inverse. So we're studying that like crazy to try and figure out, the Falcons are worried about this, the Braves are worried about this, Georgia's worried about this. Live event, what's going to get you off of your couch to go? And then when you go, Ashley and I were talking about this on the ride over, from Atlanta, you go to Sanford Stadium, you might not go in it. You might go to tailgate. How many people have gone to games and just sat in the parking lot? Right. Okay, you went to the game, you were there. You could hear the crowd, you saw all the people walking around, tailgating, hanging out. So that might be just how we consume. And as marketers, I got to recognize that Nick Saban is wrong, right? That you're right. Why would you go sit in there blowing somebody out 62-0? You can sit there. Well, it's over. I got it. I'm good. I'm out. So, what's going to make you go into a stadium? What are you wanting to do around your game? Is it connectivity? Your devices won't work. Is it traffic? Is it the crowd? Is it that there's not enough going on? That's a major issue for us that we're studying in the marketplace right now, the decline of live event. Anybody have any comments or questions on that? Yes?
I think also, something that depends on the facility also, how clean or updated the facilities are, that also could influence you where you want to go, because some facilities are outdated,
Yep.
old, not clean. So then, I would want to go into those facilities. I would just want to rather stay at home and just watching the TV with a cool air conditioner.
Exactly right.
So.
Now the NFL, as you guys might have just read this, the NFL has mandated to all of its NFL teams, by the end of the 2014 season, you will be up to code in what the NFL deems appropriate to be able to let your devices work and to do what you want to work in. The Falcons were like, whoa, 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 hey, wait a minute. We're building a brand new stadium, so you're going to make us do it twice? We got to get the Georgia Dome up to code, and then we're going to blow up the Georgia Dome and build a new facility? That's a lot of money for us. So Falcons are trying to see if they can get grandfathered in so they don't get hit twice. Yes, sir?
Do you see any schools or organizations that are spending more on the cell phone issue? Because I noticed when I went to the Tennessee game this year, all of our players were dropping like flies. I wanted to know what was going on.
Yep.
So I could check with Tennessee. Granted, Knoxville's a big city.
Yep.
But I could check my Twitter was loading just fine. I could get text out.
Yep.
Granted, here in Athens, I can't. From even if it's a 3:30 game, if I'm anywhere on campus at noon, I can't get anything sent out.
Leading the nation is the Pac-12 conference. Now that makes sense, right? You got a bunch of West Coast guys, Silicon Valley, technology, all that. But they're dumping a ton of money, and they're also testing new stuff too. Because don't forget, sports has always been a breeding ground for new technology. HDTV, before it became mainstream, was in sports. A lot of stuff that you see in sports then becomes mainstream. So a lot of the dudes on the West Coast are testing some new applications, Google Glass, et cetera, what might work. But the Pac-12 and AT&T just cut a landmark deal to do exactly what you just talked about. Now, the problem is that you're always chasing the dragon, right? I mean, so maybe they build it for now, but if we've been having this conversation, 2.5, 3 years ago, there was no iPads, there was no tablets. So Lord knows what might be contemplated in the next 24 to 36 months. Yes?
Isn't like, on that note, sort of the same thing as Texas Motor Speedway putting up, I think it's like 25 railroad tires within a 2-mile radius to try to get, like they're putting them up all over the track and all over the parking lots, like all over the land that they own to try to increase cell phone reception.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And from a marketing perspective, I want to give you a reason even more so. A, I want the convenience that you want your stuff to work. And increasingly, if you go to Braves games this year, there's an opportunity, there's an app that you can get in the stadium that maybe you're sitting up in the upper deck and that a great seat has opened up for a fraction of the cost and you can go get it for like $5 or $6. So you can go to the game and spend a little bit more and be like, oh, hell yeah, I can go sit behind the Braves dugout. That's awesome. I want it. So they're flirting around with what sort of things can they do that are only happening in stadium, which make you want to go to the stadium because it's cool and you only get it there as opposed to when you're at home. So it opens up a whole new field. Again, my opening slide talking about the importance of digital, talking about tech. People are thinking that up. 2 young guys in Atlanta thought up that app that I just told you about. Now they're selling it like crazy to every team in the league across the country. It's simple. You go in, it populates what seats have not been used, and you can go in and it elapses after a certain period of time, because in case the dude's late, you don't want to be sitting in a seat when he shows up. But everybody knows, boom, seat gets resold, and everybody gets a cut of that with that transaction. I buy it for $10, handful of dollars goes to the Braves, handful goes to the guys that created the app, handful of dollars go to the dude who didn't show up. Okay? Anything else? All right, I think that's it for my formal stuff. Yeah, this is kind of cool. This is actually a dashboard of, one of you guys asked a question earlier about what do we try to measure and why. This is the dashboard. I think this is, yeah, all right. New England Patriots, we actually did some work with them around Sunday Night Football, and leading up to it, this is the type of stuff that the tech people at the Patriots want to know. How many people, peak users during events, about 9,000 people. Unique users, 14,700 people did something unique with their phone during the game. Here's what kind of device they were on. Here's sort of the rates that they were on, the duration. Here's some of the stuff that they did. So, all of that data is readily available because you're going through the networks that the teams are enabling, and they're learning about how to service you better and how to market you better. Okay? All right, so I've got about 10 minutes for questions. Yes, sir. Question?
I got a question for
Yeah.
you and her and Miss Ashley again. Where do you see the company in 10 years, and where do you see yourself in 10 years?
It's a great question. The company continues to expand. We're doing a lot more in music. We're doing a lot more in cause. We're doing a lot more in sustainability. Sports, I think, will always be core to what we do, because sports become one of those things that you want to see live, right? You're not taping the Georgia game and watching it later. You want to watch it right then. So sports, I think, will always be core to our business. How you interact with sports will continue to change. If I had been here 5 years ago, I wouldn't have talked to you about social media and mobile and digital. Now I got to, because that's how you communicate and interact with sports. Same example the gentleman just told me about Tennessee. How does he stay connected to what he wants to know? That's going to change, and I got to get there with you. But live event is always going to be there. Advertising is always going to be there. Experiential, face-to-face is going to be there. But the tactics are going to change. So sports is there. Music, we got to be in music, because corporations don't just sponsor sports. They're involved in music. They're involved in cause. Increasingly, they're involved in green and sustainability. So we'll grow our business in those areas as well. For me, I love what I do because I kind of, like Ashley, I love being able to work on a lot of different things. and maybe learn something from what we're doing from Coke and bring that into AT&T, or what we're doing with AT&T and bring it back into Coca-Cola, or working with a different league or team or something like that. So it's constant learning for me, which I really like. And I like being my own boss.
Have you ever met Doc Rivers? Do you guys still work the same time?
I have met Doc Rivers. He's one of our clients, actually.
Yeah.
All right, yes, sir.
What's your most successful venture and then the most challenging?
You know, the most successful thing we've done is really bite the bullet and get into social and digital a few years ago. Because, you know, as companies really started to adopt social and digital, they were like, well, we'll go to digital agencies to do that. But they didn't understand the passion, what motivates you as a Georgia fan, what motivates you as an Atlanta Braves fan. So we were able to say, in a lot of ways, social is the new talk radio. You know, 10 years ago, still do it, right? Call-in shows, people are voicing their opinions. Now you voice your opinion on your devices. Yes?
So, do you represent any other teams outside of like the state of Georgia?
Sure.
Okay.
Not teams, though. I mean,
Just in more like
individuals.
Okay.
Yep. And corporations.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me like the hardest part of your job would be like staying up to date with everything that's going on.
Yeah,
Is that-
I study my butt off, man. You have to. I mean, the stuff that I read now, I wouldn't have dreamt that I would have been reading, you know, even 2 years ago. I mean, I manage everything from my analytics guys, who are hardcore finance people, you know, people that come from Wharton, Cornell. I mean, Ivy League smart dudes that think like finance guys. So what are they interested in? I got to know enough to be able to have a conversation with them. Then my creatives, they're interested in, you know, design magazines, or, you know, wow, this is really cool, and see what Banksy, who's a graffiti artist in New York, is doing. Man, we should be doing stuff like that for the Final Four. So I got to understand kind of what they're interested in. So the books and the data that I have to take in is increasing over time. And in order for me to do my job well, I got to study. I mean, I spend some time on Sunday afternoons preparing myself for my week. Every morning I get up, I get myself a cup of coffee, and I see what's come in overnight or what I need to be current on before I walk in the door that night. Yes?
How successful was the tour battle with Julio Jones and
Oh, good memory. It was really successful.
And are y'all planning on
Yeah, we'll do it again. You'll see that again. We have a Twitter battle. We'll figure out who the right people are, the BCS. Yes, ma'am.
Are you affiliated with any like extreme sports? 'Cause I know Red Bull's doing some pretty amazing things with that.
I want to get there. The closest we got was Pantech sponsored the Dew Tour, and there's a lot there. Now, you know, that took a little bit of a hit. If you saw that, you know, the ESPN X Games, they tried to go global, and it was a big failure. So there's a lot of study, because usually ESPN doesn't make mistakes like that. Like, why did it fail going global? And a lot of people think it was just really timing, because a lot of budgets are getting tied up with World Cup and Sochi, and so a lot of people they were targeting were already like, hey, we're spending a ton of money on the Olympics and World Cup. But yeah, that's going to continue to grow, as is general wellness, you know, running, triathlon, swimming, just fitness, right? CrossFit games, right? Who would ever thought that was going to happen? Yes, sir.
Is agency your bread and butter, and is it moving away from that as far as cash flow streams?
Is agency?
Like being agents to athletes?
Oh, you know, that's an interesting business, right? I mean, there are more people who want to be agents than there are people to represent. It's an incredibly competitive field. And players are getting smarter and smarter, where they're like, I can either do this myself, or I can have a lawyer look over my contract. And particularly as, you know, the unions are really slotting how much money a certain player with so many years of service time can really make, there's not a huge variance as much anymore. So those guys are really thinking about how can they save money on the commissions. The real opportunity continues to be in marketing. So, you know, if you can work with an athlete or a celebrity and marshal his or her social media or content creation or marketing deals, your commission structure is higher, and there's more opportunity there on the upside than on the contracts. Okay, is that helpful? Yes, sir, back.
Given all your experience in the sports marketing field, what would you say would be the next biggest trend that marketers would be looking for?
That's a great question. I think everybody is thinking about creating content right now, because, you know, how many things do you see that you think are funny that you're sending on to people? You know, different clips, et cetera, et cetera. You guys are turned off to traditional advertising unless it's really, really funny or really, really memorable. But what you do kind of get a kick out of is the funny or die type of stuff, or things that you think is hilarious that you want to send on to your friends. So there's a lot of time and energy focused on that. We just did a conference in New York City and put on a conference with Sports Business Journal. And we focused a lot on content creation. We brought in filmmakers. Ivan Reitman, who is coming out with a new movie called $1 Million Arm, it's all about the NFL draft. And Arian Foster is actually going to be in the movie. We brought those guys in to talk about, from a filmmaking perspective, how they think, because we as sports marketers need to think about that too. My clip that I tried to show you that didn't work is that sort of thinking of like, hey, people would think it's hilarious. Look at Vince Dooley. He's like coaching this combine thing and teaching kids how to run around pizza boxes. That's funny. I'm going to forward it on. So it's an oversimplification, but content is really what's next, what we're thinking about. All right, anything else? Any parting shots? No, you guys have been a great, great audience.
For coming out today and telling us about their experience working in the kind of the sport marketing and sport industry, and thanks everyone for kind of engaging and asking questions throughout, and we hope that we can see you again in the classroom.
I'm going to give the book to the gentleman in the blue shirt right there. Thank you very much. Hey, thanks again, guys. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. Send me an email. I'm usually pretty good at responding. So.